Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about risk management for medical devices. My name is Ian with Koven Technology Canada. We are your biomedical design and development partner. So, risk management. We start with a strategy, followed by risk analysis, risk evaluation, and then risk control if needed. If there's any residual risk left over that needs to be evaluated, and finally we'll produce a risk management report. Once in production, we have production and post-production. Risk strategy. Begin by creating a strategy with your team or consultant. Create a documentation plan, assign roles, and set a schedule. This sets the foundation of the paper trail for the whole risk management plan. It should be organized and clear. The objective. This will prevent you from missing important parts. Risk assessment. We're going to start by defining the device's intended use, identify the hazards next, then brainstorm any foreseeable sequences of events. Describe the hazardous situation, and describe the types of harm. In practice, this looks like a hazard would be something such as a high temperature. A foreseeable sequence of events that leads to that, as example, would be a battery that's put in backwards, causing a short circuit and the battery to overheat. A hazardous situation that can occur is the battery might explode, the battery might leak, or the enclosure could get very hot. All of this leads up to a harm such as a burn, blindness, or some trauma. So the formula we use to estimate the risk level for each hazardous situation is as follows. Probability of occurrence of harm times the severity of the harm, that equals risk. And to evaluate that, we use the previously estimated risk levels and then a risk acceptability matrix to determine if the risk is acceptable, marginal, or unacceptable. So risk control is basically things you do to reduce the probability of occurrence and or severity of harm. We choose a hazard to be controlled. Then our first order would be to design for safety, so something inherent, something built into the device. After that, we would look to use a protective measure, which is something that's not built in, and barring that is safety information such as labels, warnings, or instructions for use. Again, as example, for our case of the thermal energy or high temperature, inherently safe by design, we would look to have a design feature where if the battery was put in backwards, it could not make an electrical connection. If we couldn't do that, we might use a protective measure such as a surge protector built into the circuit that would limit current draw. Finally, we would label a battery compartment, the instructions for use, or the label on the device warning. So overall, residual risk evaluation, risks that cannot be reduced further after risk control measures have been taken. We'll evaluate whether the overall residual risk is acceptable or not. That's our benefit versus harm. Ultimately leading to an evaluation of whether the device is worth it. Once we finish these activities, it's important to detail the results in a risk management report. So the summary of all the results of the data tables of this process. This report must be clearly written and demonstrate that all the planned objectives have been met. Once a product is in production or on the market, we need to make sure we're continuing this evaluation. So it's important to monitor all life stages of a medical device. Risk management involves the entire product life cycle, from idea through design and development and manufacturing, to post-market, and even retirement. During the production phase, monitoring will help adjust overall risk acceptability and prepare for the market. But even with all the planning and speculation, no one can predict how the device will work in real-life situations, in users' hands and on actual patients. Therefore, post-production monitoring is equally important. Any changes that can affect the risk formula numbers can send the device back to the risk analysis stage. So as an overview, again, we started with a strategy that defined the activities for the risk. We performed a risk analysis and evaluation, and then did any risk control measures required. If there was risk left over, that was evaluated, and we summarized everything in a risk management report. Once we went to market, we continued with production and post-production activities. So, thank you very much for viewing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. You can please visit us at koveninnovation.com, or you can find us on YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, and LinkedIn.